to play. Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
You're tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
It's a podcast.
Welcome to You're Tall, but I'm Standing in Front of You, the podcast where two friends circling the drain of academia examine the cultural detritus of the 20th century. I'm Devin.
I'm Ethan.
And we are joined this week by special guest Megan Tusler. Megan is an instructional professor at the University of Chicago, where her academic work is on U.S. ethnic literature and affect studies. And she's the co-host of the excellent podcast Better Read Than Dead, one of our favorite podcasts here at You're Tall. You can check me out on the Talented Mr. Ripley episode. You definitely want to check out their episode on the novel Dune, which we consider kind of an unofficial prequel to our own Dune episodes.
I like how you're turning it into a self-plug there. Just like, how can we take it? Okay.
Well, I'm assuming everyone listening to this show is like, just how can I hear more of this guy who keeps interrupting Ethan all the time? Can I hear him interrupting different people? But Megan, do you want to say hi? Let us know about the show and anything else.
Sure. This is sort of meta, but I don't know how other people who are instructional professors introduce themselves, because it's like, what I do now is teach, but I used to have this whole like research project, and now I don't anymore. And so it's such a funny, it's like we have to figure out new ways of introducing junior academics, because like I don't have like a research program. But I have a really good podcast that I'm very proud of with my friends Tristan and Katie. And we talk about books. We talk about books, and we're leftists, and that's the point of view that we bring to them. And if you're looking for a books podcast that is serious or book clubby, then you should probably move on, because that's not our style.
Yeah, and that is what I love about it. It is, I don't want to just say it's not only the best literature podcast, I think it's the only good literature podcast, pretty much.
I listened to so many before we started this, and that was the like that you know, that like old saw, the Toni Morrison thing where she's like, do you know, write the book you want to read. It's like, I'm just gonna do the podcast that I wish existed.
Yeah. You guys hit the ideal amount of reverence, I think, for your material. It's not like it's serious. The work is taken seriously, very serious analytical points are made, but there also is none of this kind of like hand wringing about the like power of literature and you know how it like teaches us like moral lessons or something.
There's also that thing that I personally hate is when people complain like, oh, I really wish I read more, and I'm like, well, but don't you watch TV? Because then you're consuming cultural, those are our contemporary cultural products. You know, nobody thought that when the novel was invented in the 18th century that it was some highbrow bullshit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and speaking of not highbrow bullshit, today we are talking about 1979's The Warriors. And Megan, this was your pick. I'm just curious, what made you want to come on and talk about this with us?
What made me want to bully you into letting me come on your podcast? So I, I'm like, I don't want to go on too long. The shorter story is that I was writing a dissertation chapter about movies that have characters that are doing this sort of they walk through the entire movie, or they do these travels that involve public transportation and are trying to get from one place to another, and it's usually about sort of like circumstances of impoverishment. So Tangerine is a great example of this, where people keep saying like the common argument is that LA isn't walkable, and it's like, well, if you don't, what's walkable? Somebody's got to walk somewhere. And so I was working on this and talking about it with my husband, as I do, and he said, "Oh, there's, The Warriors has a bit of that." And I said, "The what?" And I had not only not seen it, I had never heard of it, and that was deeply embarrassing. This is probably 5 years ago. And then I watched it, and of course it was like love at first viewing. So I wanted to see it again. I wanted to talk about it, and it's the kind of thing I would not be able to do on our podcast, because it's like, it's weird and it's a movie.
Yeah. No, we're all about things that are weird and our movies. But yeah, this was my second time watching it. But I didn't see Warriors as a kid either. Like, I remember when the video game came out, and I remember seeing commercials for the video game that had some of the like iconic scenes, like the Warriors come out to play and the Can You Dig It?
Yeah.
Like, but in like PlayStation 2 CGI circa like the 2000s. And I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I actually think it was only like within the last like 3 or 4 years. But loved revisiting it. Just like, we'll get into the details, but I think just like visually, just an amazing, like you could watch this movie, I think, with like the sound off, like, and just like a Godspeed You Black. Oh, of course, you want the Godspeed You Black Emperor song that talks about Coney Island at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Sleep. Like, I actually kind of want to do that now after the pod.
Do it.
Had you seen it before, Ethan?
Yeah, I think I'd seen it back in like college. Also not when I was super young, but was kind of familiar with those major beats, the like Can You Dig It and the Come Out to Play lines. But I think I saw it in as an undergrad, and this was, I think, my second time revisiting it.
Awesome.
It would have been the kind of thing I would have seen in high school when I would go to the video store with my friends on Saturday night, which is like, I know I'm not a lot older than the two of you, but there's this break where videos are just like gone out of the like the weekend plans for teenagers. So that's just a employee pick thing.
Very, very similar. I feel like I would have stumbled upon this. It makes me think about one time when I was like 8, and I went to the Blockbuster. And my dad was the one driving us there, and me and my friends picked out Clockwork Orange. And my dad was like, "Yeah, sure, let's get it." We brought it back, and my mother was not too pleased with that choice. But I feel like I would have stumbled into Warriors had I just seen it sitting there on the aisle.
Yeah,
that's how I saw Todd Browning's
style.
Freaks. It's just like, this one looks cool, and of course it is amazing.
Yeah. And a huge part of, I think, what makes Warriors, like what makes it such like a cult film, is that like those qualities are just like the cover, the evocative name, like it's got a really good like cover, like poster, very like kind of iconic, right? It's one of those things you will like kind of just glance at in the video store. Like maybe you walk by it a few times, like consecutive weeks, and you're like trying to like convince your mom that you can get it. But yeah, excited to get into it. Ethan, you wanted to, I think you had like something prepared.
Yeah, give us a little summary to get the audience excited. Regardless of whether or not they stumbled upon this in Blockbuster circa 1997 or Hollywood Video. I want to be inclusive. We're going to watch The Warriors, or We're going to talk about The Warriors, which we've already watched, I suppose. The Warriors is a 1979 action-adventure film set in the fictional city of New York. The film begins with the many gangs of New York City being asked to bring 9 unarmed delegates to a meeting orchestrated by Cyrus, the leader of the Gramercy Rifts, who has become respected across the many different gangs due to his being presumably the only good-looking and charismatic gang member in the entire city. At this meeting, Cyrus, played by the indomitable Roger Hill, proposes that all the gangs call a truce so that they might collectively truly run the city. Thankfully, Cyrus is immediately gunned down by Luther of the very surprisingly named Rogues Gang, putting an end to this dastardly plot against America's finest, the New York City Police Department. However, Luther frames this attack on the Warriors, who must now flee back to their base of operations in Coney Island. This is no easy feat, as Vermin, one of the members of the Warriors, who's played by the indomitable Terry Mitkus, and who clearly knows his New York City geography, notes that Coney Island must be, quote, 50 to 100 miles from the Bronx. The rest of the film revolves around the numerous gangs that the Warriors must fight in order to get home. From the Baseball Furies, just your typical gang of baseball-themed mimes, to the Orphans, a gang of orphans. Just a warning to those of you planning to watch this film, its depictions of gang activity and violence in late 1970s New York City are extremely accurate, and you may find the gritty realism a bit unsettling. Eventually, the gang gets back to the sunny, clear beaches of Coney Island, but they're met by Luther and the Rogues, who seemingly have no real plan for what they're trying to accomplish with such a confrontation. Unfortunately for Luther, the Rifts have been told that he was the one who shot Cyrus, and they show up to murder him. The Warriors decide that, well, that's enough gang adventure for the day, and walk off down the beach into the sunrise and into our hearts. It's a tearjerker finale that almost makes you forget, as the Warriors apparently have, that a third of their delegation was just killed or arrested over the last few hours. Everyone, please join us for this discussion on The Warriors.
The line I prepared doesn't work because you stayed much closer to the actual plot this time. Usually he makes things up.
Okay, because I'm like, what do I add to this now? The things that I remembered that I wrote down in my notes this time were a couple quotes that I felt like I had to say, and one of them is that early before they kill Cyrus, before Luther kills Cyrus, the he does this calculation of how many people it would take who are in gangs to take over the NYPD. So he's like, okay, well, we have this many people here, and there are 20,000 active gang members, and there are 65,000 if you include affiliates, and there's 20,000 New York City police, and it's not their turf. He says it's all our turf, which is amazing. There's this later moment where one of the Warriors says, it's all out there. All we got to do is figure out a way to steal it. And all of these are just the antagonism to the cops is extremely cool in this movie, and those are just things I have to note. And of course, we'll talk about in more details the scene at the end with the bottles that he has on his fingers, and again, my own personal obsession with what it looks like in a sort of cinema, in cinematography or in movie history, to watch an entire on a foot trip across a whole city, because it's a genre and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because that really that is the story of this movie, really, right? It's literally just this group of young men trying to get home, right? Trying to get across New York. Something that should be relatively easy, right? And
right. You just take a couple trains.
And I think it's a huge part of this movie that those trains, the subway, right, is it is supposed to be this space. It's actually a space of safety in a sense, because there's kind of this unofficial truce that like it's almost like it's like they're playing this giant like game of like um big base. Did you guys ever play that in uh gym class? It's like a version of baseball, but the bases are really, really large. And like
Oh,
it's like if you get to the base, you're like safe, you know? It's kind of like how the subway works.
that's
But then it
true.
also just is never working. Like the trains aren't coming on time. There's fires, right? This is like very much like late 70s New York. The sort of the promise of a like of I don't know how what I'm trying to say here, but like the city's going to shit, right?
Right.
Is the idea. Like, and it what is supposed to be sort of this place of nominal safety is actually like kind of, you know, it's not actually working. It's not like functioning.
It does all this interesting stuff that now appears to be historicizing itself. So one of those things is early on when they're talking about we as a group of a network of gang members could take over the cops. They also talk about taking over the crime syndicates, by which they mean the mob. And so that in 1979 to me is another one of those like, oh, that marks a time, that marks like a period of history. And you're absolutely right. I think it just it historicizes itself with the stuff about the trains too. Because
Yeah,
I wasn't alive in 1979, but I think the line was, you know, don't go to New York or you'll get knifed.
I could be wrong on this, but I also feel like the trains are pretty much the only place where you see any New Yorkers that are not in the gangs. Like anytime they're wandering about the city, the city streets are entirely emptied out except for when different rival gangs show up. So it seems like the trains, including one notable scene, that's where you actually get a sense of other inhabitants of New York outside of the gangs.
There are no citizens, there's only denizens.
Yeah. What is weird too, because it's like the different flavors of gang in this film that you get, like if ostensibly there's like a weird effect where like they could be just, if there was just one of them, they would just be like, if you think of like a kind of a classic New York movie where like someone like a movie like After Hours, the Martin Scorsese movie, where like someone's wandering around New York at night and they're like just encountering all these kind of like weird eccentric characters. Like the different gangs are kind of like those people, except like many of them exist and they all dress alike, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like you're like, oh, there's the weird guy that walks around dressed in a full baseball uniform with like clown makeup. And then it's like, oh no, wait, that's actually like a themed gang.
So I think the piece where I kind of jumped through things very quickly is really the meat of the film, which is all of the interactions that the Warriors have with these different gangs and their journey back to Coney Island.
And
Because
that
once,
initial scene too, right? Like
Mhm.
that uh conference of all of these different gangs, and it lingers so carefully over these uniforms. I don't know. They say colors as they would for uh, all kinds of gangs, and they're really signposted in interesting ways, right? So we see like groups that are clearly supposed to be reminiscent of Black Power groups. The warriors who I'm not quite sure how to like parse every single piece of their uniform because it's one part like biker shit and it's one part leather daddy and like it really has a lot of signifiers. There are uh, Latino groups. There are this group of they say skinheads, but they're not. I'm mad at them for that. And and it all sort of coalesces around this, you know, like charismatic figure. But that initial scene lingers so long on the various groups and how they look and the sort of like cultural textures that it lends, right? At least for me it does. I think they wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, and like it really builds like this whole like universe,
Hmm.
like with all these different groups. Like it's like I just like I had this like horrible experience where I like watched all the MCU films I hadn't seen before recently, and uh and like the Warriors is like just from such a different period in cinema history where like it doesn't feel the need to have someone that's running in and explaining to you like, oh, that's the baseball Furies, the
Right.
baseball themed gang. And they're called that because they fight with baseball bats.
Right. It only has one amazing non-diegetic voice, which is a radio DJ. And she like periodically jumps in. She has this mellifluous voice who's doing this like I think R&B radio, and it's sending messages to the Warriors that's like the guys are after you. And um that is the only, like, now that I've seen this movie again, I'm like, that is the only exposition that I will fuck with in any movie ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that in watching the film, like how it would be absolutely destroyed if they tried to remake this in the modern era, because like Cyrus exists for what, like the first 15 minutes of this film,
Yeah.
and then he's shot and gone. And they'd like build him up. There'd be all this background that is entirely unnecessary. This movie is like, as they're doing the credits, like the gang members are just talking to each other like, Cyrus is calling a meeting. Well, I guess we got to go with 9 of us. He says don't bring weapons. Well, I guess we'll do that because he's It's like they're just like, they're ready to go. They're moving. They're going to the first plot point. I think the thing that stood out to me first and foremost when I put this film on is that it was 90 minutes long. And I don't remember the last time I've experienced a film that was 90 fucking minutes long. That wasn't like these 2.5 hour Marvel films that have to try and be these big events. This was like a self-contained story that, like,
You don't have any little kids because I watch 90-minute movies all the time.
fair point.
But the Marvel movies are so bloated. I remember seeing one, I think the first Avengers movie, and I was like, this is like, it's slow. It's weird. It's weird to think that the movie that sort of that universe that pegs itself as like the action thing would feel really slow.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's almost a way like the tightness of this movie and like the structure of it, like it almost adheres, not literally, but like it in terms of how it ends up working, I think almost adheres to like classic Aristotelian like kind of drama ideas, right? Where it's like we have this like one event, the death of Cyrus, and basically all we're seeing is just like the fallout of that one event that takes place over a single night, right? And we're not exactly confined to one space in the dramatic sense, right? But it's very like it doesn't feel the need to. It's very comfortable like evoking a world beyond itself without actually needing to like dive into that fully. And we really see this with Cyrus because it's like, what do we know about Cyrus? We really just know that like he is capable of producing this conference, right? That everyone is coming and everyone's like taking him seriously.
Yeah. I mean, we're all aware that like this is based on a novel, which is in turn based on like a Greek tale. Because I think when you have that understanding, it makes a lot of sense how it creates this fantastical world that is maybe like based on real names and places that like do and did exist, but is an entirely fantastical story that like kind of takes you on this adventure. So I think like when you consider the fact that like it has those roots, it makes a lot of sense. Also, it seems like very kind of like Greek Athenian of like, oh, it's a band of guys going back home and look at all these hijinks they get into along the way. So yeah.
It also like builds its stakes so without that exposition thing, right? So it's like having killed this, what we could have had this guy not died is something amazing, which is this sort of like coalition of gang members to kill the cops. Cool. And then having not done that, this truce is broken. The warriors are out on the run. They're going to be killed by whichever gang they encounter, because this is like a unilateral thing where like kill the warriors because they killed Cyrus, which they didn't. But the stakes are there from the outset, so you don't have to go through any of this sort of like the stuff that I find to be a slog in the Marvel movies, which is like, who cares? Like, why? Because they told me to. I'm supposed to care because like a big guy with a lightning bolt is like, you should care about this thing, and it's like, but there don't feel like there's any stakes for me, and I think that's another sort of why I'm interested in these movies that are like sort of the opposite of road movies, because you have to walk or take public transportation or and the sort of atmosphere that tends to be often really bombed out in movies like that is that it just means that a lot of the tension is going to be deeper than it is going to be like heightened tension. So what's happening in these sort of like there's a lot of conversation that happens while they're walking. There's a lot of conflict that's not just the main high drama conflict. And movies that are entirely high drama conflict are just, I don't know, they have to be like incredibly good to hold my interest.
Yeah. And like thinking of this as like in relation to the road movie is really interesting to me, right? Because like you think about like the classic road movie, you know, also often motivated by like a need to escape, right? But escape happens as like kind of this like vector heading out from somewhere. And like, you know, I'm not a New Yorker. We're like a notably anti-New York podcast, but so I can't.
I don't take a position. So.
I can't say like to what degree this film is at all like fidelitous to like what would actually be involved in traversing the real spaces of like, what is it, Brooklyn to Coney Island, or where do they start?
The Bronx.
From the Bronx to I don't know what's involved in that in real life, but like as like a fantastical space that the film is generating, to me it very much has this kind of like spirally sense of like even though like Coney Island, because it's on the ocean, it kind of does have this, once they get there, it feels like they've reached the edge of something. It feels like the way they get there does not feel like a straight line. It feels like just like this like just progressive turning into like they are just like going deeper and deeper into the city, not necessarily in a geographical sense, but in like a emotional sense, or like a, you know, and encountering the city's contradictions over and over again, the ways it's producing violence by sort of like throwing people in proximity to each other, until they kind of just get to this beach at the end, right? But there's no sense of like that you would ever go beyond the beach. It's like so yeah.
It's the moving itself that matters, as opposed to the now, because like my brain is busted from having read all these 18th century novels for the podcast that I normally do. I'm like, that's the road novel. It's fine. Where what matters is where you stop, right? So it matters that you stop at this inn, and then it matters that you stop at this town, and you're doing, you know, a video game. But this doesn't make sense to think of it as like a series of stops along the way. It's really the motion itself that's important. And so sometimes they get waylaid by these gangs, but the whole point is to get away from them. Yeah, and anytime that motion is arrested is like, that's when like danger appears, right? Yes.
Like the train isn't running because there's a fire, or we've been lured into this party by the Lizzies, who are like the female gang that no one realizes is a gang, right?
Right.
So like, oh, this is just an like it's so funny, like in this movie, like as Ethan was saying, very few like normal quote unquote people exist. There's either gangs or there's cops,
right?
And like but then they meet this assemblage of women where they're like, oh, well, this isn't a gang because gangs are a bro thing. And then it's like halfway through the party, they're like, wait a minute, it's a lady gang.
Who also like suggestively give themselves a name that sounds like almost exactly like lesbian. Like they that we as viewers would not. I watched that and I was like, these people have never seen a movie before. If they're just gonna walk into this apartment, like, no, this is totally fine. But I think it's set up by all this like sort of sexist, language that they've used in the film before then, right? It's like established by something.
Yeah, and I wonder, Megan, what you think of like what's going on in this film with gender, because it is primarily it's
so
this
weird.
Yeah, like it mostly is a film of like young men killing each other or trying to kill each other. We do get the Lizzie's gang. We also get the like really fucked up scene where Ajax, who is like he's like the like seemingly like the soldier of the gang. He's like the strong guy. They're just walking and there's like a woman on a bench in the park, and he's basically like, "Excuse me, fellas, I'm going to go rape this woman."
Yes.
And they're like, "All right, well, we don't want to do that." But
no,
and then
but
then like he gets like arrested because she's like an undercover cop,
an obvious undercover cop.
Yeah.
But yes.
She was sitting all by herself on a park bench in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like hard for me to parse. I think it's not a formed thought, but I think the movie is just much more about, it's barely about women at all. It's just much more about sort of like the conflicts in the gang that may not seem gender-y, but have some gender tones about like, if they're not interested in women, then they use homophobic slurs, which doesn't actually seem to signify anything other than not wanting to like rape people. And so, but it also doesn't feel like male bonding to me at all. It just sort of feels like masculine proximity. I do think it has like a gender thought, but I'm not quite there yet. The woman that they sort of pick up along the way is an absolute mystery to me. I don't know how to read her. She's an interesting character, but I really don't know what to think about like what she's doing there. She's got to be doing something.
Her thing seems to be that like she wants to get away and like live an actual life beyond the confines of like her existence in the middle of New York City, and so she sees the warriors passing through as a way for her to like live that life and get away and do something. That's the best sense I can get, but it is like she's kind of follows them for a large duration of the film.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, right? Because we should say this is a character who is like, she's seemingly kind of like affiliated with the Orphans gang, who's one of the earlier gangs the Warriors encounter, and she ends up kind of like hitching a ride with them essentially.
Yeah,
and
they're
Mercy.
the minor leaguers, is what the movie calls
they
the
weren't
Orphans.
invited to the conference. But it's interesting with the stuff what you said, Ethan, with the stuff Megan was saying earlier about sort of the motion of this movie and stuff like this is New York City. Like if it was a realistic New York City, right? Like this character should be able to like leave this particular spot of the city she's in at any time, right? But in the sort of like in the logic of this movie, right? It's like the Warriors seemingly are like the only people who can move across space. All these other gangs seem to be like tied to their territory in a way, they're almost like video game enemies that like when you run past a certain point can't keep chasing you.
Yeah, but also interestingly, Mercy seems to be the only one who's able to like get from place to place without getting fucked up. Like she can take care of herself and like actually move around the city without that happening. So there is that. I mean,
there's this, I wish, I could pull it up, but the shot of the movie that I think is different is when they're under the boardwalk, and that's when the rogues show up with Luther, and she looks like she's just a member of the gang in that shot. But that does not happen routinely. She looks like she's a hanger-on. But when it's sort of when the rubber meets the road, when he's like shaking his, it like describing the moment of him shaking his bottle fingers and thumb is really hard to articulate in this medium, so it's struggling. But that's a moment where she feels like she's with them. But in general, that's not the case at all. And it's partly that she's like wearing a shirt over her sort of revealing top, which I know is not, this isn't like a lesson that I'm trying to present. I'm just saying in the movie's logic that it defeminizes her.
So maybe we want to just like, we've talked a bit about the Lizzies. We talked about Mercy. Maybe we want to like go through some of these individual gangs. We mentioned the Rogues, and like that's the confrontation at the ending, the climax of the film. So maybe we want to like dig into like a few of these different gangs. I think the first big one you're introduced to after the Warriors is Cyrus and his gang.
Yeah, the riffs, right?
The Gramercy riffs, yeah.
And they're interesting to me because they, I think, are the gang in this film that has the closest thing to a real world referent. Like, their mode of dress, their sort of like style of like they're hyper disciplined, right? It's very much, to me, recalls the Black Panthers and just sort of also just sort of like Black radicalism generally. And they're also portrayed as like hyper competent, hyper persuasive, right? Hyper charismatic, right? This group. Yeah.
And yet you see none of that over the entire duration of the film. Besides them being like, what's happening? Why can't we find these guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they're always sending out mercenaries to find them, right? It's like not that they have bigger plans, and the Warriors, it's important to take them out, but it's not so important that they would personally.
Like they don't even know. They're like, who are the Warriors? They don't even know who they are at the start of the film. Yeah.
But by the end of the film, they're the real thing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested in this question of like what the film is doing by sort of having this gang of like that is very much like at a period in time when like we're on the doorstep of neoliberalism, right? Like of remaking places like New York City in a very different sort of image, right? The way this film kind of like is evoking the like last like several decades of like Black radicalism in this group that like threatens real like revolutionary change, but who exist in the film as sort of like this marginal presence almost, like Ethan was saying, they don't actually like intercede until like the very end of the film, like when the Warriors are perhaps about to be killed by the Rogues, the riffs kind of sweep in, right? And other than that, they kind of have this like background presence almost.
Which I think is a real missed opportunity that like they cut the scene where it turns out that Luther was actually working for the FBI, and that was why he killed Cyrus. But other than that, no, so that's not actually a scene.
Okay.
I like how it's so
I
believable.
totally believed that.
Yeah, everyone's like just nodding like, yeah, no, that's, man, why would they cut that? Yeah.
Well, he makes surreptitious phone calls that lead you to believe that he's working for the cops.
He is on the phone with somebody. Yeah.
Just saying, we don't know who that is.
Yeah. No, I mean, he seemed like this obviously seems like if you're reading if you have any knowledge of what's going on in like the history of radicalism at this moment in history, you're like, okay, this is like an inside job. Like, this nobody has killed this like super charismatic leader that is threatening like real social change. But at the end of the film, he claims he's doing it for no reason. Right. When he is like kind of confronted at the very end, like he just says, no reason. I just like doing things like that. He's very much, I feel like the Nolan Joker. Like, like, beforehand, it's like some guys just like to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Which is such a like for a film that gives us like a vision of what could potentially be like real revolution, it's also giving us such, I feel like, a like reactionary and maybe even like fascistic idea of what undoes those movements is like, oh, this idea that it's like the uncontrollable chaos of these like individuals, right? And not like the sustained systemic actions of the state to undo these organizations, right? It's like, oh, just like this crazy guy happened to shoot him.
I mean, that's a very, for me, I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend that he's on the phone with the police because that's what makes me sleep better at night. As somebody who likes this movie a lot, but I also think, I mean, I struggle a lot as well with how they characterize this group that seems like the Black Panthers or other versions of Black radicals. That does seem sort of militant and also well organized, and also like they're not in doing this sort of work of like they're not on the ground as such, compared to like the outright silliness of so many of the other groups. And so like the baseball clowns, sure, but the roller skating overalls, actually I was like watching, there's a fight scene in a public bathroom, and I felt my blood pressure go up when I was watching people like ride roller skates on tiled floors.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get so fucked up just by falling over. Like, you don't need weapons.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Because it's like there's not even a clear like the baseball guys aren't even very good at using the bats, right?
None of the gangs are good at anything, is what really comes out of this.
But like kind of the thing that's interesting about the riffs and like distinguishes them, right, is like we don't get a full articulation of what their purpose is.
Right.
Yeah.
But they ostensibly are a group that is united by some kind of ideology, whereas seemingly every other group is united over like shared interest in some kind of like
costume
gimmick or costume, like right. That isn't necessarily, like as you say, it's not practical. Like there's no tactical advantage to being on roller skates when you're fighting on like tile floors, right? Like the Riffs are one of the only groups that it's like their shtick is actually like being a competent organization, and the Warriors are almost their mirror image in a sense. That like the Warriors shtick is like, I mean, like it's kind of it's a generic name relatively, like they're the Warriors, right? Their thing is like is just that they're like fighting, and they have like, you know, they have their vests, but they don't have like a too specific of a gimmick, right? Like
they could have been like the Coney Island Dogs, you know?
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
That's true.
Yeah, no, it is. But again, to me, and I want to preface by saying I prefer how the movie plays out, it being 90 minutes than what could have been a 2.5 hour schlock. But like again, the gangs, like what are the gangs in this city of New York, which apparently like they're not involved in like drug trade, any of that stuff. Like they exist to like just be in places and do something that isn't very clearly defined. But the gangs don't really have any explicit purpose that's defined in this film, so it sort of leaves you wondering a sort of gang that is actually competent, like what are they actually all about? Because they clearly have a lot of people in the gang. What is the actual purpose? It's not really defined in this movie, but I think any way that it would have been defined in this film would have been very not satisfying. So I think I'll take the mystery.
Yeah, no, you're making me think about like the fact that the gangs very explicitly don't have like a stated purpose, right? Like to the extent the film gives us information about that, it's that their purpose is to hold territory essentially, right? Like the orphans in the interaction with the orphans, a big deal is made about this, right? Because a sort of temporary peace is brokered where it's like, okay, we will let you pass through our territory because you're coming in peace, but you have to like take your colors off, and the warriors won't take it off, so there has to be a fight, right? But it's essentially like the gangs exist to like micromanage space, right? Of like who is allowed to exist in what space, right? And like within the logic of the film, because it's really a film about space, right? It's about the space of New York City, which is in the process of being remade, right? At the time this film's being made. And it makes me think back to like Cyrus's speech, right? Because what Cyrus's speech is threatening with this sort of like almost like math that he's doing, like as Megan was talking about, right? Is not even just uniting the gangs, but essentially like transforming the idea of what that space could be from territory to like totality, essentially, right? And he describes it as a miracle, right? He says, he talks about how everyone has come to the same space. And he says, now look what we have here before us. We've got the Saracens sitting next to the Jones Street Boys. We've got none of these gangs he mentions, I think, actually enter into the film.
No.
We've got the Moon Runners right by the Van Cortlandt Rangers.
Damn.
Nobody is wasting nobody. That is a miracle, and miracles is the way things ought to be, right? And what's interesting about this is it's like he's not really actually calling for anything to happen. He's calling for something to like not happen, right? He's like, there's this potentiality of like all of these tiny little like atomized micro pieces of space essentially could in a second recognize their collectivity, right? Like and literally remake space by doing that.
That it could all be our turf. That's one of those lines that I find so evocative, right? Because it's like gang movies before this, which were like, Jesus Christ, I don't know, The Wild One, West Side Story, I don't know. They didn't have an explicit, like, they just were not as good at having class markers made sort of clear. And this, I think, is doing a sort of like angry young man script where the idea would be to have command of your space, even if it's like in a sort of smaller scale.
And without working, right? Like none of the gangs are workers, right? They're like it's like they're not that none of these people are producing surplus value. And this film is very interesting that we like actually like we don't see like we really don't see the proletariat. We're essentially seeing these like lumpen proletariat gangs, and then we're seeing like the oppressive state apparatus. And the engine of capital is weirdly absent from this film. It's like this film is about like the state, sort of like the threat to the state of those who are like kind of like surplus to capital, right? But like Cyrus is essentially banking on the idea that like the mathematics of that can win out on the side of like the lumpen, essentially. Like,
I mean, I think the only thing I would say is that I see capital in the sort of like deep background of them not being workers, right? Which is like the degree to which they would not, do sort of on the books stuff. They don't do off the books labor either, but that they wouldn't operate in the sort of like realm of the legal is a position that is still in and among and with capital, right? And like space itself is determined by capital. So when they're moving from place to place, we're thinking a lot about like why it looks so bombed out and why it's that characterization of New York is important because it is like it's right before Disneyland, New York.
I think it's also interesting in how with what you're saying, Megan, that essentially any time that the police see these gang members, like they are pursued, because like they're operating in this space that is not part of the capital structure of New York City. Like they're just these people hanging out in like after dusk in the subway, and by virtue of doing that, they are illegal and they need to be pursued by, like, they've clearly, like, they're always being pursued by the police and like the subways and stuff, but like they haven't done anything besides like wearing a vest that says warriors. Like it's it's very strange.
It weirdly, this might sound like a weird place to go, but this film weirdly makes me think of Bartleby the Scrivener.
That's always a good place to go. I'm on that train.
Yeah, but like for those of you who haven't read it, like, you know, it's like this guy, he's like working as like a scribe essentially, and he just keeps saying, I would rather not, what is it? I would prefer not to. And he's like refusing to do anything, right? And you see in that story the degree to which like society, the state cannot countenance just this guy merely just existing and taking up space, right? And this movie to me is almost like, what if we had like 40,000 Bartleby the Scriveners, right? And like they are just committing this sin, right, of taking up physical space in this city that is supposed to be like, New York City is supposed to be this like epicenter of capital generation, right? And there's that scene where actually Luther, I think, right, is and his gang are they're in like a corner store. But they've taken all this stuff, and the woman like store clerk asks like, hey, what about the money you owe? Which that's a really interesting way for the line to read, instead of a sort of like, hey, are you going to pay for that? It's what about the money you owe? Right. And Luther just responds, for what? Like kind of screams it at her, right? And like they are trying to exist just sort of outside. They're still like they obviously are like taking commodities that have been produced within capitalist relations, but they're trying to sort of cut through those in some way. Like, especially from the perspective of the rogues, right? It's a very kind of like individualistic, like insurgent sort of style of resistance, right? And as opposed to the miraculous promise that like Luther had, or I'm sorry, that Cyrus had offered earlier.
Yeah, it's hardly utopia to be like, steal some shit from a newsstand. Like,
yeah, and that doesn't have a capacity to scale up, right? Like that's always, you're always going to be on the margins, like even if you feel powerful.
And it's quite different than what one of the Warriors characters says later when he says, you know, Cyrus is right. We have to figure out how to steal all of it. And because that's a much more abstracted, and it's about space, and it's about like the streets. They're always walking in the middle of the street, which I think is important because it is about the sort of like the traversing, again, as being the sort of important thing, but also you don't see cars very often. And one of them gets Molotov cocktailed, which is
immediately
actually like,
explodes.
Immediately explodes. I felt like they spent 45% of their budget just on like that car exploding.
Yeah.
And so you don't get all these like trappings of what would be, you know, our recognizable objects of commodity. It's just dudes walking down the middle of the street in the Warrior's costume. I don't find silly. I just find it incoherent in that it's offering all kinds of weird, like, they're wearing the tank tops that I would associate with like gay men's fashion in the early 80s, and then these vests that they're kind of like leather daddy stuff, but they also look like bikers. It's not easy for me to parse. It feels piecemeal to some degree, but otherwise they're just encountering groups of people who dress silly and are bad at fighting.
And I think the other gangs they encounter tend to be more homogenous.
Yes.
Sure.
And the Warriors are notably like, they're very multiracial. I feel like particularly the Rembrandt character, who's like the graffiti artist, I feel like is queer coded. I don't know if
for sure.
you guys felt that. Like and we actually don't it doesn't even, what I love about the Warriors as this sort of like, Melville ship group of folks brought together is like the film isn't doing any kind of like and see they all get along thing with them. Like it doesn't even ask that question.
Yeah.
It just like it's presupposed that that this group is that exists. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not, there's not a narrative problem of like how will these different sorts of people come together and set aside their differences to like there really aren't any to the extent we get a difference within the Warriors, it's just that Ajax wants to commit sexual assault and the other Warriors don't.
Yeah, they're not going to come together and be like entrepreneurial. Like what? I don't know what other movie this would be, but like I think Rembrandt is also queer coded in the sense that he, whether it's like this weirdly mutually recognition-y moment where they're in the apartment with the Lizzies, and he's like, something is fucking off here. Like as soon as they get in, he's like, this isn't right, and I think that there is a degree of like, okay, he's cueing into something that the rest of these dudes, like in the company of these women with all their like bralessness and big hair, like are instantly taken in.
Yeah. So let me go through a few of the gangs just in case anyone does want to dig into them any further. We just talked about the Lizzies. The all-female gang. Does anyone want to say any more about that gang?
I mean, spend some more hours at the target range is all I can say. Like, like you had a gun. You literally brought a gun to a knife fight, and you didn't get the job done.
Yep.
Watch out for chicks, I guess. It's my lesson.
Yeah. Don't trust women unless they're alone in Central Park at night. But I guess especially not then because they're undercover cops.
Right.
So what you're saying is don't trust women ever.
You can trust
any
one.
Circumstance.
You can trust exactly one woman who you meet halfway through the film that you're in.
Yeah.
Who then follows you around for the rest of it. But everyone else is duplicitous.
Yeah, as long as she isn't wearing
a shirt on.
Yes, a shirt on, but not a shirt that any other woman is wearing, because then you know she's in a gang. So we have the Lizzies. I think the first ones that we run into, the first ones to attack the Warriors are the Turnbull ACs, the skinheads that drive up on their big bus. Which, by the way, like it seemed like the Warriors could have just waited for the bus to go past them and then got into the sun, but they're like, let's run in front of the bus so they all see us.
Yeah. No, that was like, and it was, and that I didn't understand that gang because like they seemed like skinheads, but they had black members.
Well,
so they were not.
That's right. So they're trying to. It's totally incoherent, right? So like, because I used to do organizing with anti-racist skinheads, so like that part didn't bother me, except that they're also like it's also like contentless, right? So it's not as though these people are like anti-racist. It's just like that's a group that has shaved heads and suspenders and some black people in it. So it's like that. It's contentless. I just had this. I had something I wanted from it that it wasn't going to deliver. It's like actually kind of the Clockwork Orange thing, where you're like, I want this to be a mod. I want it to have a mod thing backbone to it, and it doesn't.
Yeah. And because like, shouldn't they have then been on like Vespas or something? Like, why are they on a bus?
For sure.
Right.
Is there something about the bus that, like, why wasn't there like a crossing guard themed gang driving the bus? Like,
a bus driver themed gang. Where are the firefighters?
Yeah, well, it's similar to the Rifts, where like this was clearly made by somebody who has like seen pictures maybe of like skinheads or like the Black Panthers, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna take that aesthetic and just have nothing else to add to it because that's my only context, is like this one picture I saw in Life magazine 5 years ago.
So they had to do like Mad Max skinhead style. Like, it is kind of Mad Max when they're on the bus to me. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's after
If
that,
this
but-
would have been like 5 years later, we could have had like the Wall Street Bros, you know? That could have been a
yeah.
sick ass gang. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Let me get out of imaginary gangs. Let's go back to the actual film. The next up after the Turnbull ACs, they run into the orphans.
Yeah. Like their
So
their
sad.
theme seems to be that they're losers.
Also, their uniform is shirts and jeans.
Yeah. It says orphans on the back at a very weird part of the shirt. Like it doesn't say orphans like, you know, like on a basketball or a baseball jersey where the name is like along the shoulders, and it's not even at the middle, it's like lower back is where it says orphans. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I do have to say,
where
like,
to hit him in the kidneys.
yeah. Leader of the Orphans, I actually think one of the more compelling performances in the film.
Yeah.
Like he's this very tall, thin, like gaunt man, and just like very like concerned about how his like gang doesn't have any respect.
Yeah.
And like there is like, you know, I think you get like maybe the most pathos in the film from him because he's just like he's like the guy that wants to be like, my gang's gonna become like a big time gang, and it's just not in the cards for him.
Well,
Yeah.
you see him do a political calculation, right? Where he's like, okay, well, obviously we can't just like let you walk through with your vests on, but we don't want to, you know, get into it, especially right now where this like whole truce thing is unpredictable, and of course the orphans are like, yes, we are a gang even though nobody likes us. So he does this calculation, which I think is really interesting, right? Because like most of the characters are like, let's say, undermotivated. But you're right, there's something compelling about that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he really doesn't want to fight.
Yeah.
But he's like, how can I preserve my like self-respect without having to fight? And I guess they you know, it just doesn't work out for him.
Nope. They get Molotov cocktailed. Car explosion, which I guess just like eliminates all of them. Yeah. He
pulls it's not Ajax, it's the leader of the warriors.
Swan.
The wick for the Molotov cocktail is a part of the woman's dress. It's part of Mercy's dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off, and that's actually like an extremely upsetting moment that goes by super quickly.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, you can't like rip up art, like, and he pulls it like as though it's out of her crotch. Like it's a really sort of arresting moment that I don't have any fucking idea what to do with, but like that's something.
And he's like staring her down while he's doing it. Like it's very it's the vibes are fucked.
So yeah, we have the orphans, and then I think the next one, the baseball furies, who are like really like built up throughout the film up to this point. And then they encounter them. They're like, those guys are weird. Let's like run. And then there's a like 10-minute long chase scene where they're just running. And then they beat them up.
Well, somebody takes a swing, and then they take the baseball bat, and it's all over from there.
Yeah, two of them cycle around behind because I guess they can't see that they're doing that, so they circle around behind, get like the straggler, get his bat, but then also the two people in front. The one guy's like, "I'm tired." There's like, "Thank goodness." Ajax is like, "Let's great. I want to fuck these guys up," and then they just do.
Yeah, and you get the famous line of like Ajax, like is like I'm going to turn you into a popsicle with the baseball bat, right? But like, the baseball furies are weird because like the reaction to the baseball furies, like when they first appear by the Warriors, is like, oh fuck, like they are truly terrified by the idea that someone in 1979 would be interested in baseball, like just like. such a boring sport. Like
In
like
New
the
York?
NBA is like, I'm like it's really gaining steam. We're about to enter into like the 80s with Bird and Magic, and you're watching baseball. These guys have to be psychopaths. But yeah, I feel like, again, like if this film came out in like 2020, we would already have like a 6-part Disney Plus TV series just about the baseball Furies.
Oh, God.
So I think the strength of this film is we just get to imagine what went into these guys' heads when they were like the Yankees, but with like clown makeup. And also, like, you can only fight with a weapon if it's like part of your theme, like, is weird,
Yes,
like,
yeah.
like a baseball bat is a fine weapon for like melee style combat. You don't need to be like baseball themed.
I had to look this up, Devin, just because I thought I was like, I know that thing, but Magic Johnson was drafted first pick in 1979. So
Oh my
absolutely no one gives a flying fuck about baseball.
Yeah. No, I think like the confluence of the release of the Warriors and the baseball Furies just getting washed by the Warriors, who share their name with one of the great NBA franchises,
That's right.
And Magic Johnson being drafted that year. I think that might be like the crucial year in and then they start doing steroids, so it's like
we've really opened an important historical door with this.
The next gang that they encounter is the punks, the roller skating gang.
Yeah, well, we talked about the punks, right? Like, just
Nothing
like,
more to
what are
say.
you doing?
Those are what are called punks?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. They're wearing overalls.
No, they should be like the K Records gang. Like, I don't know
They should
what
be the Starlight Express gang.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with those guys, but you are literally trying to fight in like a subway bathroom with roller skates on. We're not playing roller derby here.
Yeah.
Rethink your theme. What about the theme of like having like a fucking like gun? You know what I mean? Like, what if the theme of your gang was like, we have weapons?
I think
we're
that's
the weapons gang.
Gramercy riffs, right?
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Yeah, the riffs are like, our theme is that we do shit well. We're not distracted by.
Yeah. And of course the climax is with the Rogues.
Yeah.
Anything more to say about the Rogues?
I mean, I think we got to talk about David Patrick Kelly in this film a little more, because like he plays Luther, essentially the villain of the movie. People might know him as Jerry.
Okay, I was about to say that's why we're talking
Twin
about
Peaks.
this. Yeah. Okay.
Great actor, but just such an incredible performance. And I'm really interested in his character. His character's relationship to sound is really interesting to me in the film, because like he shoots Cyrus, and that bullet. Ethan, you might be better equipped to give like the proper description of this, but like that bullet shot sounds like it's being run through like a Memory Man delay pedal or something. You get like the initial shot and then just kind of sound incredible. Yeah. But then also like of course there's the famous scene where he's essentially wearing like 3 glass bottles on his fingertips while improving the famous line, "Warriors come out to play."
You hear it before you see it too. Like, you're actually not sure what the sound is when you just hear the sort of clinking, because everyone in the Warriors is sort of doing like makeshift weapons, right? They've like pulled down a pipe and grabbed a board with a nail in it, and then you hear the like clink 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 before you see it.
Yeah. Which is, I just want to throw out just in terms of the progress of the film, really great way in that like it's daytime, they've arrived in Coney Island, you think like we're done, and then these dipshits show up to go cause trouble, and you're like, oh shit, actually something's gonna go down. And he's clinking together those bottles.
Well, it is important, I'll ask a question, but that it's daytime, and I can't believe he improvs that line. It's the most important. It's like the most famous, like, "Warriors come out to play."
Yeah. It's all.
And he says it so many times.
Yeah, and he was apparently like, "Oh yeah, some guy that used to bully me." I was just like riffing off of what that guy would do to like fuck with me. So I'm just gonna like
Oh damn.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did. He wanted to like. I don't understand what this means. When you read up on it, he wanted to have 2 dead pigeons rather than the 3 bottles, and the director was like, "No, we're not gonna do that." He's
Yeah.
like, "All right,
That's
fine."
not a fun noise.
I'm like,
Well,
"What is
it-
that?"
you
He's
know,
like, "Plonk, plonk, plonk." Like, what
It's
is
the
fuck?
classic. It's the classic part of Capital Volume 1 where Marx is explaining exchange, and he's like, "You
Oh,
can
yeah.
have 2 dead pigeons. You can exchange that for 3 glass bottles." And that's how money is invented.
3 glass bottles for
yeah.
1 gun.
Yeah. Oh, but you had a question, Megan?
Well, I don't know if this is like interesting or not, but I'm curious to know if it's filmed during the day and then darkened, because it doesn't look like it. To me, it looks like it's filmed at night.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But like, think about how hard that would be with in '79. It's definitely on location.
Yeah.
To film at night, like it just seems unlikely, because if it's not, it's actually like colorized really. You don't think about it. It's not like sometimes you see those movies from the 60s and 70s and you're like, come on, Russ Meyer. I know like what Los Angeles looks like in the daytime. And I'm just curious because it's 35. It's filmed on 35 and released on 35, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And like, yeah, it's just like the image of Coney Island we get from that end scene is so apocalyptic. Like, it's like, which is like, it's weird because like, you know, Coney Island, as the man says, it's the amusement park of the world, right? Or like the playground of the world, as the man in the Godspeed song says, right? And like, it's where like the fucking 4th of July hot dog eating contest happens. Like it seemingly would be like a sort of like a central place of capital, but in this movie it is like you've reached like the wasteland. Like there is nothing here but it also is sort of this magical place where people can appear without approaching. Do you know what I mean? Like the riffs are just there. Whereas like in other parts of the film, approaches are always very explicit and obvious. Like they see the baseball furies a long time before they actually like encounter them. Like they see them approaching and they run, and then the fight happens. Whereas like once they're at Coney Island, like it seems like it's over and we hear that sound of the bottles, and then like Luther just is there already. And then we have the big standoff where Swan throws the knife into Luther's wrist, and then the riffs are there. Like it seemingly is this place that like it does not adhere to the same sort of laws of physics as the rest of the film.
Which, by the way, like as someone who's taken the train out to Coney Island before, the only thing that surprised me is it wasn't midday when this all went down. It's like, oh, it's just you got there by morning.
Yeah.
Man, hats off to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, they first off, they have this confrontation on the beach, which is compared to the entire rest of the film is a very different setting.
And daylight. All of that is totally different.
Yeah, which again, like if you think about the Greek origins, like the ocean is where the Greeks are safe. And so like they're out on the beach, which is their comfort zone. And then the rogues just are like, let's walk on down to the beach. And yeah, they're gonna like shoot Swan.
Or like everybody?
They're gonna probably kill everybody, but he's definitely like, I'm gonna kill you, Swan. But then Swan like stabs him, and then the riffs just have like descended on the beach with none of them noticing, and they're like, well, this is over. And so they go and just like murder Luther, I guess. Right? Like that's.
I mean, we don't see it happen, but yeah, I get.
I mean, it's he's not gonna have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to. What you were bringing up, Ethan, about like for the Greeks, like ocean was where they're safe. I just want to read a portion of the script, right? So like Swan has this line during his confrontation with Luther. When we see the ocean, we figure we're home, we're safe. And then Luther says, "This time you got it wrong." Swan says, and this is also where we get the line where Swan asks, "Why'd you do it? Why'd you waste Cyrus?" "No reason. I just like doing things like that, right? So like this supposed stability of the ocean, right, has been called into question by this Luther figure who is just sort of like this chaos agent, right?
Hmm.
But like I like Megan's counter reading of like when Megan was saying like I just choose to believe he's on orders from the FBI, because like actually the film does not give us definitive evidence he's not, right? Like the film gives us like this is some shit he's saying in an encounter, like he's still an operative at this point, you know? Why would he fess up like to being a like COINTELPRO agent or something?
Right.
I mean, for me, it's his being on the phone so frequently in the movie
exactly
that cues me to his being.
Yeah, no, I think you've convinced me that like even with this like faux confession that he is persisting in this film as some kind, he is like an agent of the state. And what the state wants well, because he encapsulates what the state wants people to think
exactly
gang members are.
So but then that's it. Like the warriors walk off into the sunset again, just not really bothered by the fact that like a third of them got killed or were arrested. They're like, another day, another day, this is another dollar.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Ethan, because this is something I want to talk about. Is sort of to step back to sort of like the production of this film a little bit. There's this character Fox, right? Who is just one of the warriors, played by Thomas G. Waits. And I feel like, I don't know if you guys agree, but like early in the film, I get the sense that Fox is kind of like the like second most important warrior after Swan. Like,
yeah,
for sure.
He seems like he's one of the like leaders, you know? And he is kind of unceremoniously killed in this scuffle where he's like with the police, where he's thrown in front of a train, which like, you know, that happens in these kind of movies. But as Ethan's kind of like jokingly alluding to, the weird thing is that no one, not even just doesn't care, no one even mentions his death.
Right.
Yeah.
He just is completely effaced from the film. Right.
Yeah, I was almost like I was wondering, is he gonna show up? Because it's just sort of like it's tossed and then it shows the train coming. It's like, oh, did he just die? What the fuck?
Yeah.
It is
very
not
strange.
Fully worked out in the universe of the movie.
And so it turns out that that the guy who plays Fox, the other Tom Waits, was basically killed off because he was making noise about the labor conditions of the filming. Right. So like apparently he was pissing off the director because he was like pointing out like the labor conditions. Right.
Yeah, he demanded that like the entirety of all the Warriors actors that they had more than one trailer to share.
Oh my god!
And apparently they finally they got two. That was
for like 9 people or something. Yeah. Jesus. But then like apparently the director just got frustrated and it just was like, you need to kill him, just kill him. Like, and he got the stunt guy to like make this scene that kills him off. But what's so interesting to me about this is not just that they killed off an actor that they didn't like, but that they just memory hole him from the film.
Yeah, they like disappear him.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's literally like just no one even knows he's missing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we've been talking about some of like, you know, maybe somewhat lovingly about some of the like revolutionary potential of this movie or whatever. But like also this movie just had like an actor standing up for like worker rights.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just killed off. He was like erased from the universe of this movie. Yeah. Like it was like the like Thanos finger snap thing in those Avengers movies. And I don't know what else to say about that, but it's really fucked.
Oh, it's really fucked. I mean, and I think that stuff happens a lot in cinema production, right? Because of because the working conditions are really terrible.
Yeah.
Especially for people who are tradespeople, which I know that they're not in this case, but like, yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And also, I think probably happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this too with like the a lawsuit just was filed today against Alec Baldwin about the
Right.
the shooting on the Rust set and that of course killed one of the cinematographers, was it? Or directors of photography.
Yeah.
And like part of the reason that happened is that the unionized workforce walked off that set, right?
Right. And the armorer was like a nepotism hire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like a child of somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what this means for like analysis of the film or anything, but just as a podcast of leftists and people that are pro labor, I just feel the need to like put that on the table. Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
That actor was like the Cyrus of this filming. He was just
They just gotta kill him off.
Oh man, that is that. There you go. That is the read. There,
That's
man.
the read.
That is the read. It's like it's Cyrus and Thomas G. Waits, right? Are like the twin sacrifices. Diegetically and extra diegetically, this film has to do because and it has to do right because otherwise it would have to depict a revolution which is beyond its capacity for depiction, right?
Yeah,
So like,
absolutely.
So it has to silence. Revolution can only exist in this film as like a could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to real quick though, one last gang that we didn't talk about, which is important because they do kill Fox. Probably the biggest gang in the entire film is the NYPD.
Absolutely.
So I want to like give props to this film in that like it like you couldn't do this in films today, where the NYPD are sort of just presented as the shitty people that come to like fuck shit up when like all the gangs are trying to work out their shit and get it figured out. They like show up to just for no discernible reason other than like this is the role they play, come to arrest all the gang members at various points, kill a few of them. They get fucked up repeatedly in their attempts throughout the film, which is great. Like you never see that in films these days with like just the pretty accurate incompetence of the NYPD on display. And they're like, well, they're not actually accomplishing anything other than being this like force of terror that can descend at any moment upon the like characters' worlds. But they're definitely a gang in this film.
Great little Fatty Arbuckle bits where they like fall all over each other too. Like these are not the like the cops of cop movies now where everyone is like masterfully competent, which is also hilarious. But you're absolutely right. It's just another gang because they're not like they're also not backed up by some state apparatus. Except
they have a silly uniform they all wear.
They do.
Yeah, they have the nightstick right as their baseball bat, but
which they immediately use, right? Like as soon as we see that scene where it's Ajax is handcuffed to the bench because the cop, set him up or whatever we want to say, and the cops get out of the car with the fucking nightstick. It's not like they have there's no intention of niceties.
No. Yeah. And what I love about the cops' depiction in this film, right, is they are just completely bereft of subjectivity. Like it's not even just their competence level. It's like they barely even have any dialogue, right? They are kind of just like they're Goombas or whatever. Like, they are just faceless evil enemies. And this game to me is this movie to me is very video gamey, which is interesting. It was made into a video game later, which I've never played, but like the cops in this remind me of like the cops in like, if anyone's played the board game Block by Block, which like Ethan and I have played. It's basically like Occupy Wall Street, the game.
Okay.
Like it's an insurgency game, but like the police in that are literally just like pieces that are summoned by the anonymous process of the deck, right? Which cards are drawn. They don't have any interiority. They don't have any motivations. They just do stuff, And that's kind of how the cops operate in this. They're just kind of like a force. Like even
Mm-hmm.
the baseball Furies have more interiority than the cops, because I at least know that the baseball Furies are boring because they like baseball.
Yeah, and I'll throw out that, like, besides when the gangs are trying to organize and maybe when like Ajax is getting arrested, the police only really show up in the subways. Like that's where they are policing. Which I think we just, before we wrap up, we need to mention like the one scene that to me stands out in the subway, which is the scene where finally the Warriors with Mercy, they're going back to Coney Island. They finally made it. But like the young pair of couples hops on, like, they're coming from like a prom, it seems like. Because I know the one girl has a corsage.
Yeah, and there's like a white tuxedo.
Yeah. And
They're dressed exactly like in Carrie. This is just how
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like thinking about how like why is this the one space that the police are policing? Like you have this one interaction that I think is really a standout moment from the film, where they're staring at one another, like the Warriors and Mercy, and it really like it zooms in on like the dirt in their fingernails and their toenails, in contrast to like these kids coming from some prom all dressed up in their fancy 1970s tuxedos, and just the discomfort between like those two, like, and the clear indication like these interactions don't typically happen. This is not meant to happen. And clearly the kids all dressed up are uncomfortable with being presented with this dirty and raw presentation of like the real New York City.
There's this moment too that God, me again with the names. Who's the gang leader? Who's the
Swan?
So Swan is sitting next to Mercy, and she does this really, it's a tiny gesture. She touches her hair, and it's as though she's doing something self-conscious, right? So she's like suddenly aware of her appearance or her body, and he takes her hand away from her face, and it's this like this insistence on a sort of like icy performance, right? Like, don't demonstrate that in any way you feel self-conscious. Don't show any weakness whatsoever. It's just a blank evil stare is what we have to deliver to the bourgeoisie who's on this train. And I mean, if I watched it again, I would pay more attention to the sort of like gestural textures of it, because I think I was watching it in bigger picture, and so I was not as attentive. But that's a moment that really stood out.
Yeah, I mean that paired with like as the young pair of couples like just leave the train, like, oh, fuck this, let's just get off of the next stop. The one girl's corsage drops, and she just like leaves it there, and then like Swan picks it up later and gives it to Mercy, and just says like, well, I just hate to see anything go to waste. This idea that like these folks who are so uncomfortable in that situation, like they don't really give a fuck, like they're just like tossing off these the corsage, these other, it doesn't really matter to them, they don't give a fuck, but Swan is gonna notice that and pick it up.
Yeah. Well, and like under the logics of sort of like urban blight that would have been applied to like a group like the Warriors, right? Like the Warriors would be waste in that like conception.
Yeah.
So like it's very interesting to me that this film actually positions them as like, it positions this one glimpse of like the quote unquote normal world we get as that which is producing waste, and the Warriors are actually like that which like uses what is at hand, right? They're all about like using what's at hand. We don't really see them actually like they're not they don't generate waste, right? They use the city as it is, like, even in its like dilapidated structure.
Well, and even in that sense, after he says, I just hate seeing anything go to waste, it literally does a pan over the city, like the cityscape.
Yeah.
After that, as like just to drive home the message of like what is this idea of what people perceive as waste. And that to me is the most like evocative scene of the whole film.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of cities falling into waste and decay, after just the uproarious response we had to the Red Dawn episode, we've
Deafening.
just new recurring segment, our Build Back Better plan. Where we are going to be coming up with ways to improve these movies.
Now, again, we're gonna give our ideas of how we could build back better these films. If you have any other suggestions, we recommend you use the hashtag #BuildBackBetter to give us any recommendations you may have about how we could take these films and build them back better.
Yeah, and like we have been checking the news, and as far as we can tell, no one else is building back better whatsoever.
Okay, right.
No.
No one seems to be putting that much effort into potentially building back better. So we
Steep
feel
decline.
like, yeah, like
It's unique to this podcast.
yeah, like this is really our niche.
Yeah, we'll be checking
if
that
you will.
hashtag. We'll let you know.
Yeah. So Ethan, did you have any ideas for how we can build warriors back better?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I think that what could have really helped this film closing it out, also like built it into an expanded universe, is a mid or post credits scene where the warriors are waiting for a subway train to arrive. And one passes through, and then when it leaves, it reveals a shadowy figure who reveals himself to be Curtis Sliwa, and says, "I want to speak to you about the Guardian Angels initiative." And that's setting up a Warriors expanded universe that would clearly stretch through the 80s into the Giuliani administration. So that would be my recommendation for building back better this film. I don't know how deep a cut that all was that it made any sense, but I'm sticking with it.
I did have to look up who Curtis Sliwa was.
Yeah, I know.
But that is
He
quite
recently
funny.
ran for mayor and lost horribly because he ran as a Republican. But the Guardian Angels were like the dudes in the red jackets in the 80s that were like. It was founded in 1979, which is when this film came out. But like they were the ones like when the suburbs were like, we're gonna make citizens arrest when those hooligans spray paint in the subways. Like, that was the
vigilantes.
Guardian
Yeah.
Angels. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
so-
elect a Republican mayor, New York City. Can't imagine.
Can't
That would
imagine.
ever
But
happen.
again, like Guardian, they
Yeah.
all wore like the red jackets. Like it's very like
no. It
chic
looks
with
like
it could have.
he looks like a Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, no, could have been
Uh,
part of the Warriors expanded universe. So okay, yeah.
All right.
What about you, Devin?
Yeah, so I just think to me, once Fox dies, this film just kind of loses a lot of steam. So I would like to do a significant re-edit where Fox is like laying the foundations of a strong union throughout the beginning part of the film. And then that the Warriors, rather than relying upon sort of kind of like insurgent politics, they fight for their working conditions as a union, and they maybe like affiliate with the Riffs, and they start turning things around before being infiltrated by the mob.
And Megan, what would be your way to hashtag build back better this film?
I mean, I think that the Lizzie's. I'm sorry. That is my fault and also the movie's fault. It's really a mistake that they are just sitting around when they could have shown the ectogenesis lab that's in the back of that apartment. And I really think it could have taken an SF turn that I would have admired at that point.
A real missed opportunity.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a real like post-credit scene, right? Is that they
That's true.
you know, that the being in the back of like the Lizzie's apartment awakens.
I'll tell you what, you can take the mid-credit scene, Megan, and I'll take the post-credit scene.
Awesome.
And
Let's
we're
do
setting
that.
up the expanded universe. I'm so excited about this.
I'm just doing the utopian Fury Road.
All right. And finally, we've got, the moment everyone's been waiting for. It's time to pass out our Shia LaBeoufs. Ethan, do you want to start?
How
Sure.
many is this out of?
That is up to you.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Shia LaBeoufs is a state of mind,
Yeah,
it's
okay,
like kind of
I see.
however you wish to interpret the scale.
So I was going to give this film a 6 out of 9 Shia LaBeoufs in honor of the 6 warriors that return, minus the 3 that just get like killed or arrested that the rest of the warriors forget about. But also recognizing that like it's a like pretty solid film, and I enjoyed it. And again, I mentioned this last time with Red Dawn. I want to try and not only give ratings less than 50%, and it was impossible to do when we then saw Red Dawn.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can actually give a score that would translate to higher than 50% for something like The Warriors. So 6 out of 9 Shia LaBeoufs for me.
Nice. So Warriors is a great movie. Like just visually arresting, great sound design, certainly, some problematic bits, but if you're looking for that like late 70s like aesthetic, like, I don't know where else you would look. I was gonna give this movie 5 Shias, 5 out of 5, but then one of my 5 Shias tried to form a union and was thrown in front of a train and died. So I'm ended up with like a solid 4 Shia LaBeoufs.
Out of 5.
Dodged a bullet
4 out of
there.
5. Yeah. But not a train.
Yeah.
Megan, what about you?
I'm gonna take Ethan's example of using a weird percentile marker, which is that I'm actually gonna give this 6 Shias out of 7, but that is 1 see a music video Shia, 2 Hot Ones Shia, and 3 performance art Shia.
Oh, nice. That's a really like, that's like a, like, I feel like I'm really getting like the mouth feel of the Shias from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah, a lot of folks when they come on the pod, they get like totally overwhelmed with trying to come up with some scale of Shias, but you have perfectly distilled it down in a way that really elevates it to another level that we can all appreciate. So
I mean, we also play like completely bananas games on our podcast, so I really have to be prepared for like a loosening of a certain demand. My boundaries have to be lowered. I have to think outside of the
catchphrase
Shias.
of this podcast.
Oh man. All right.
Anyways,
I have to think with the object and not against it.
Absolutely.
No.
All right. Well, Megan, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy.
It was a lot of fun. Tell people where they can find you and where they can find your podcast.
You can find me on Twitter at Tuslersaurus. My last name only has 1 S. And you can find the podcast everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of your platforms at Better Red Pod. It's spelled READ because it's a pun that I made up. It was funny. It was funny 3 years ago when I came up with it.
Yeah.
It's a good one,
Ethan's been
folks.
really confused because he thought the name of the podcast was Better Read Than Deed.
Oh no, I didn't know.
It's all coming together now.
Yeah.
No,
it's a great pod. Please
Yeah.
check it out. Did you have anything else you wanted to plug?
Let's see. I don't know. I have academic stuff if you want to read Criticism or American Indian Quarterly. I did the 5 best novels in Native American literature for 5 books. So
Oh, fantastic.
and because I'm me, they're weird. So go read.
Awesome. Well, do check out the pod and all of Megan's stuff. We'll put all of that in the show notes. Thank you again for joining us, Megan.
Such a
And
pleasure.
thank you, listeners, possibly, for listening to Your Tall But I'm Standing in Front of You. Please find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the NeilYoungArchives.com. And do
Joni
give us
Mitchell.
a 5-star rating. You can follow us on Twitter at YourTallPod, follow Ethan at Mathesippi, or follow me at Stale Cooper. If you have thoughts about what you'd like us to talk about next, DM us on Twitter or email us at yourtallpod@gmail.com.